of the biggest gaming franchises of all time is, of course, Mega Man. Mega Man really resonated with gamers back in the 8-bit era and was just a fantastic game on the NES. There were 6 Mega Man games released on the NES, and everyone seemed to get a little bit better than the previous one by either adding in new things or just taking the core gameplay and making it a little bit better, or the graphics a little bit better. And Mega Man really made a cultural phenomenon. There's been tons of Mega Man games, tons of Mega Man spin-off games, and Mega Man is even coming back with Mega Man 11 coming from Capcom. Mega Man has been around for so long that we've even seen a spiritual successor, well, what would be a spiritual successor with Mighty Number 9 if it wasn't such a disappointment. But Mega Man is alive and well in 2018. But one thing that a lot of people were wondering was, why was the Mega Man Legacy Collection never available on the Nintendo Switch? It's a 2-part collection with Mega Man Legacy 1 and Mega Man Legacy Part 2. But for whatever reason, it was never available on the Nintendo Switch. Well, Capcom has rectified this situation, and Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 and 2 are now available on the Nintendo Switch. So what do these games offer? Is it something that you should be looking out for, and is it something you should pick up? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Mega Man Legacy Collections Part 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards!
So first things first, let's get probably the most disappointing thing about the Mega Man Legacy Collection out of the way. And that is, if you purchase this game physically, you only get Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 on the cartridge. Part 2 requires a mandatory download in order to play this, which is really strange in my opinion, because I feel like this would fit on any size of Nintendo Switch cartridge, especially when you look at the file sizes of these games. Obviously, Legacy Part 2 Collection is going to be the bigger file size, as it has the more robust games on it. The NES ROMs are very, very small, so I'm not quite sure why this was a decision that Capcom made, but it is a disappointing one, and I don't really care for it. So yes, if you purchase Mega Man Legacy Collection physically, you only get Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 on the cartridge, so keep that in mind when you're picking out this game. Now, as far as what the Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 and 2 entail, I decided to talk about them sort of separate. I'm going to talk about Legacy Collection Part 1 and then Legacy Collection Part 2, and then we'll come to my final conclusion. So Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 includes the 6 original NES games, Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course 6. And they are all really done well. You know, the emulation is spot on, there's no issues with timing and jumping or anything like that, and there's a lot of cool features included in these games as well. There are additional challenges that you can unlock by completing challenges within the game. You can also get even more challenges by using a Mega Man amiibo and unlocking more challenges with that. And what I really like about this collection of games is, of course, the artwork and the history of the games. Basically, you can see cartridges, printer ads, all sorts of stuff from any Mega Man game from 1 through 6 on this. There's concept art too. It's a really robust feature, and it's really fun to sit back and go through all this marketing material and see how the different cartridges look, whether it's Rockman on the Famicom or Mega Man in the States. So a lot of cool details are in this little collection of NES games, and I really like it, honestly. Now, I was pretty familiar with Mega Man 1 through 6. I've played them all on the NES, I own a couple of the cartridges still, and I actually have played this part of the Legacy Collection on the 3DS and the PS4 previously, so I knew what I was getting into with this part of the collection, and I was pleasantly surprised that everything remained intact for the Nintendo Switch version. Everything looks great, whether you're playing in handheld mode or on the television, so definitely hats off to Capcom, a fantastic job with this, and it is a great collection of games. Now, the second portion of games were the ones I was more interested in though, because honestly, I've never played Mega Man 7 or 8. I never owned Mega Man 7 on the Super Nintendo or 8 on the PS1 or the Sega Saturn. I had dabbled in 9 and 10, which go back to their sort of NES roots in terms of gameplay, graphics, and all that stuff, but Mega Man 7 and 8 were pretty much foreign to me, so I was super excited to check out these two games on the Legacy Collection Part 2. So upon starting up Legacy Collection Part 2, it's very similar to Legacy Collection Part 1, but there is one thing missing that kind of made me a bit sad. It was something that I was actually looking forward to checking out, but for whatever reason, it's not featured in this version of the game. Yes, it still features challenges and all that sort of stuff like we saw in Part 1, but there's no sort of marketing materials and, you know, promo promo stuff for the games like we saw on the Legacy Collection Part 1. I would have loved to have seen like the back of the box of the Sega Saturn version of Mega Man 8, or seen some marketing materials for Mega Man 7 that were featured in magazines. There is concept art and artwork for all of the games, but there's no marketing materials, and I know that's probably not a huge issue to some people, but for me it kind of was a damper on the experience. I really enjoyed that in the Legacy Collection Part 1, so I was looking forward to seeing more of it in Legacy Collection Part 2, but unfortunately it just wasn't there. Now, as far as the games were concerned, like I said, I was pretty familiar with 9 and 10 because they pretty much have that NES style. 2D left to right, you know, blast your way through enemies. It does not have the slide in Mega Man 9 and 10, which I thought was kind of weird because that ended up becoming a pretty prominent component of Mega Man as the series went along, but I digress. You know, it's just a decision that Capcom made when designing those games. But like I said, 7 and 8 were definitely very foreign to me, and I was pleasantly surprised playing 7 and 8. There are two games that I never got to experience, and now that I've experienced them, I want to play more of them. I really enjoy them. I love the 16-bit aesthetic of Mega Man 7. I think they did a fantastic job with that game, and it's just so much fun to play. The characters are creative, the environments are nice and bright, and I just really like that game. Mega Man 8, of course, was Mega Man's introduction into the 32-bit age, so I really didn't know what to expect with that. Of course, we have some terrible voice acting on Mega Man. He sounds like a very high-pitched voice, like, nah, nah, and I was like, no, I don't think Mega Man would talk like that. But Mega Man 8 is actually a pretty creative game. I was actually surprised with the sort of deviations in gameplay. There's actually like some side-scrolling shoot-'em-up sections in one of the levels, and I really found that to be a lot of fun. It really increased the enjoyment of that game for me. Now, all of these games feature the ability to save state, so Mega Man games can be pretty challenging, and with the ability to create a save state anywhere you go, whether it's on Legacy Collection Part 1 or 2, it's very cool to have that. So even if you're just playing for a little bit, you can just create a save point and get back to the main menu and pick up the game later. The game also features a rewind feature in case you mess up and you want to redo something, you can handle that as well. So there's a lot of things in this collection of games. You can also increase or decrease the difficulty on some of the games, and, you know, make it a little bit easier if you're finding them too challenging. A lot of different stuff. You can also add borders to the games because all of these games are originally done in 4:3 aspect ratio. You can make it full screen if you want, you can make it widescreen, or you can create a little aspect ratio with borders, so that way the game retains its original form and how it's supposed to be played, in my opinion. Now, as far as the collection is concerned, it's a great collection of games. Like, I'm terrible at the first 6 Mega Man games. I never realized how bad I was at them until I was actually playing these games, and I was like, wow, you know, I never really played Mega Man that much as a kid. It was more of when I was in my early or later teens that I started to get into Mega Man, but I just never was super good at those games. But they're still very enjoyable. They're still very fun. And to be able to play 7 and 8 for the first time for me personally was a true joy. I absolutely love those games, and I want to play those games more, as it's really interesting to see the progression of Mega Man from the 8-bit era to the 16-bit era to the 32-bit era. Now, like I said, I am still disappointed that if you pick up the physical version of this game, you still have to download Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 2. I am disappointed that there isn't any historical things like we saw in Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 in Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 2, because I thought that would have been really cool to see. But all in all, if you haven't played this collection, it's definitely worth picking up. It's definitely worth checking out because these games are timeless classics. There's enough stuff in here that's been added to make them fun. The ability to take it with you wherever you go on the Nintendo Switch, on that glorious Switch screen. The games just look fantastic. The colors really pop. The sound is really good, and the controls are still as tight as ever. So it's a great collection, but I'm sure a lot of people have played this collection on other platforms. Like I said, it's taken a long time to get to the Nintendo Switch. So I don't know how successful this will be. I guess with the lack of a virtual console on the Nintendo Switch, gamers will be interested to check this out. It's great to get a collection of retro games for a low price, and with these low prices and these so many games that you're getting, it's definitely worth checking out. Unless you've played it to death on other versions of the game, then I can understand skipping it. But all in all, the Mega Man Legacy Collection Part 1 and 2, definite great values, definite fun games, and definitely something worth checking out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments section down below if you plan on checking out the Mega Man Legacy Collection when it hits the Nintendo Switch. And thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. There's all sorts of videos going on here. Reviews, news, all sorts of stuff. Retro games. I do it all on here, baby. And if you really enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the description box down below. We got links to Patreon, t-shirts, social media, all sorts of ways to keep up to date with the ever-growing world of RGT 85, and I will catch you guys in the next video. I think I'm gonna go play some more Mega Man 8. Later.
RGT 85. RGT 85. RGT